Hey everyone, before we start this video, I just want to say thank you so much for clicking on it and watching it. If you make it past 10 minutes into this video, you're an angel. I apologize for breaking up this video so much and stopping and talking so much, but I just had a lot to say. I think this stuff is really relevant in today's society, and I think there's a lot of value in these conversations being had, and hopefully my perspective adds some value to the conversations already being had that I'm reacting to. So without further ado, enjoy. Ahoy mateys, welcome back to the Captain Patriot YouTube channel. I am your host, Captain Patriot. Also, I am very sick right now, so if it sounds like I'm gargling on a bag of dicks, it's because I am. But we're going to be reacting to Will Any Progressive Men Go Traditional by Jubilee. So you know this is going to be just an absolute... Let's just get started, shall we?
The idea that depression is a choice. I guess it just doesn't really make sense to me why someone would choose to be in a miserable state for a long time.
I would just say to you, like, do you know anybody in a toxic relationship?
Fair enough, fine. But what I'm wondering is then, would you blame people who stay in toxic relationships and call them weak?
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome back to Middle Ground XL. I am John, and I'm here with traditional men and progressive men. Not all.
We're men. We're men. We're men. We can cheer louder than those men over there. Okay.
All issues separate into clean binaries. We want to give all of these men the opportunity to agree or disagree with the middle ground statements from the last video. And if they agree with them, they will step forward. And if they disagree, they will remain seated. Our first middle ground statement from part one is, should men spend their time watching porn?
No, men should not be spending their time watching porn.
I hope you're all sitting down. I also agree. No, men should not spend their time watching porn.
Thank you, guys.
That was so.
Why is that a question? Who would agree with that? Why would you say yes to that? Should men spend their time eating poop? It's like, what? Okay, I mean, shit. Like, I guess start off with a softball. That's fine.
If you agree with that middle ground statement, come to the middle. If you disagree, remain seated. All right, so all of the men who came forward here agree that...
Oh, now that is a ratio right there. My goodness, 48% agreed? Wait. Men should not spend their time watching porn. 92% of traditional men agree with that. That's wild. I mean, it's not surprising, but that kind of paints a very clear picture. I mean, that's crazy that such a low percentage said yes or agrees to that.
Men shouldn't spend their time watching porn, and you guys are the degenerates who think... I'm just joking. You are the defenders of porn.
I have the advantage of already having the mic in my hand, so there are...
What the fuck? Dude, what is with this soft ass... Bro, what?
I have the advantage of already having the mic in my hand, so...
Excuse me, I actually already have the microphone in my hand, so if you wouldn't mind just waiting for a second, please. Thank you.
There are, the thing about this is that there's this absolutist attitude about things that could be addictive that I just think is counterproductive. Also, there are measurable benefits to porn. We never talk about it, but there are...
Okay. Yes, one of your arms might end up stronger than the other. Okay. And I guess you could measure that with your grip strength. Bro, this is gross. This is nasty. Why are you defending this?
Lots of tangible benefits available to people through porn. Now, I'm not saying it's everybody, but I'm just saying we villainize this thing when there should be new.
I hate when people do this, okay? And I see it so much from liberals, okay? And I'm not, actually I am generalizing here. I see it very much from liberals that liberals refuse to generalize, right? So like this question, men should not spend their time watching porn, right? It's a general statement. Men in general. It's not saying all men, right? It is not specifying individual men. Okay, it is a general statement that it is bad to spend your time watching porn. I feel like that's a pretty generalized statement. And the people sitting down, seem to think, oh, well, if I can find one man out there who should watch porn, then it's all men should watch porn. It's like that's not logical at all.
Nuance. What are the well, so sociologists have found, for instance, that it can be an additive to couples discussing their desires with each other. It can also
have sociologists also found that it destroys relationships? It destroys marriages? Have they found that either? Or just that, right? So like, if you want to point out a positive, you need to find the counter to that, right? Because I guarantee you there's going to be a counter to that. So it's just like, it's bizarre.
Provide people context who need better understanding of what their sexual desires are. In fact, a lot of people report that the language they use to describe sexual stuff with their partner, they learned from nowhere else but porn because it wasn't available to them anywhere else. Does that make sense?
What about you? You want?
Yeah.
No.
So to attest that, I have a personal example. So like, I don't care if I embarrass myself in front of everyone, but like, so I discovered through porn that there's an action called like sex wrestling. So you're wrestling with your partner, and then it leads to sex, and you're wrestling in a very sexual way. And I don't do that like every time I have sex, but it's something that was cool that I learned through porn. Like, it's about exploring sexuality as well.
Bro, that's about exploring like domination and like taking power from someone else. You know what that leads to? You know what that's like akin to? You know what that's adjacent to? Rhymes with, well, it's a purple fruit and they come on like a branch and there's like a lot of them and they make wine out of them. It rhymes with that. But yeah, that's interesting that you got into that through porn. It almost sounds like that's unhealthy.
Is like being a way for some people to vent.
So I think porn, like objectively, yeah, probably bad for your brain. And
why are you sitting down? Why are you sitting down? Yeah, so like porn objectively is bad for your brain, but let me rationalize it because I do it, and so therefore I need to make myself feel okay. What the heck?
And things of that nature. However, there are obviously people benefiting from it, like people consensually involved. Prostitution is one of the oldest jobs in the world, if not the own. And I'm very on the, that's the strange thing because with conservatism, we want more power to our people, right? We don't want governance.
Wait, I'm so confused. What does this have to do? What is he talking about? What does this have to do with men watching porn? What does this actually have? This has no relation to the conversation topic at all. Right? Prostitution is a totally different thing. I mean, like, prostitution itself is, in so many ways, it's so wrong. And the other thing too that he's going down this tangent of is like giving freedom to the people. It's like, if people have to step into the world of prostitution, odds are things didn't go right earlier on in their life. I don't think most people who work in prostitution, which is a majority of the people working in prostitution are women, do it by choice. I think there is a need for it because they need to financially support themselves. And that's one of the easy ways that they can financially support themselves. And I just don't think that this is like I don't think this is like a free society at work where everyone has what they need. All their needs are fulfilled. All their basic requirements, food, shelter, security, safety, all those needs are met. And you go, oh, I want to be a prostitute, right? If your finances were covered, if your healthcare was covered, if you knew you were going to be safe, no one was going to break in and kill you, if everything about your life was set and you were good, what would you do with your life, right? Like, what would you pursue? Would you pursue the arts? Would you go travel? Would you start a business? Like, what would you do? Oh, I'm going to go be a prostitute. It's hard for me to imagine that's what people would choose to do if all of their basic needs are met and they have everything they need, including a supportive community, whether that be family or just a network of people close by. Like, it just seems hard for me to wrap my head around the idea that women would default to going to prostitution because they wanted to and not because they had to.
And so the ability for people to make their own decisions to, be in pornography. And then in terms of consuming it, yeah, like my boy said, you can't learn some shit, man. How you gonna learn how to eat a chili ring like properly when you're not watching porn on Munchbox, bro? You guys crazy. And then also there is a good release because some of us, there's a whole spectrum of sexual desires. Some guys are cool being, Mr. One and Done, but like, bro, if I'm not nutting, it could get crazy, bro. Who knows? You can't let all these menaces out on the street.
What? Is he suggesting that if he doesn't get his nut out, he's going to go like murder someone or like fruit from the vine someone? What the hell?
Nuts. Damn, that is right.
Bro.
Like, you gotta buzz sometimes, bro. And my imagination is not that good, and I can't draw that well.
All right, so
Dog. Okay. Whoa. Bro, you are desensitized. That's the issue.
really quick, I think there's traditional porn. Then I think if you have a wife, girlfriend, or something, and y'all decide to record something, come on now. Are you telling me that me and my woman can record something? See, this is what I'm talking about. We're not being out. We want to see our woman in ways, and women love it. It's a flirty way. I think a lot of you guys are talking about the outside porn. I'm talking.
That's what the question is, okay? The question is not saying filmed videos between you and your significant other, okay? That's not what the question is. This is so intellectually dishonest, right? The question was never specifying relationships. It's men should not spend their time watching porn. Yes, everyone should say yes. That's just like, it's a waste of time. It really is. Like, it genuinely is just a time sink. Like, it's something to do. It's like, that's like a no-brainer. Like, that's
about inside the relationship, the porn you make.
Okay. And then we're going to come to the circle. We're going to hear from the circle in a second.
Yeah, that's what I said. Why are the people inside my computer screen not listening to me right now?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just the first thing that came to mind, I don't know why I'm defending you guys, but I don't know how, like, we define porn, but it would seem like maybe that exists outside the bounds of commercial pornography, just like making a video with you and your wife that isn't for commercial sale. Regardless, that's not the point that I really wanted to make. What I wanted to say was more that I also really want to echo Ryan's point. Just regarding I don't think there are any clear binaries here. I think that I would be very sympathetic to everything you guys said, that if, a man were to come to me and say, should I watch porn? On balance, I'd say probably not. And I think the negatives largely outweigh the positives, but I just think that humans are too vast and diverse to tell everyone what they should and shouldn't do. If you're not...
Again, this is where I feel like the liberals are so intellectually dishonest, and this happens all the time, is if you make a generalized statement, liberals lose their heads, okay? They run around like chickens with their heads cut off because they have no idea how to approach a generalization, because in their mind, it's evil, right? It's wrong to generalize. They have either fed the lie themselves to other people, or they've been fed it themselves, okay? It's like a circle of lies, which is generalizations are bad, right? This is crazy. Like, the question is very simple. It's a very general question. Men should not spend their time watching porn. Yes, they should not, right? If it can be avoided, it should be avoided, right? This is a should question. This is not can, will, it's a should. It's a moral question. Should you rob a bank? Should you beat up old grandmas? Should you, right, set fire to a nursery? No, you should not. If it can be avoided, well, what if there's a demon inside and the fire will kill the demon? Okay, well, like, maybe, but like, is the nursery empty? Like, there's the nuance, right? These people, intellectually dishonest. It's insane.
Harming anyone, if you're not hurting anyone else. Now, there's arguments to be made that there's certain aspects of the porn industry that can be harmful, and maybe those...
No, not can be harmful. It is harmful. It exploits people. It exploits both men and women. There is no can be, okay? It either is or it is not.
Could be better regulated, but I don't think that we should go around saying that these benefits don't exist or they shouldn't be considered, or for some people that they shouldn't do that. I'd say for most people, probably not a great idea because of the unrealistic expectations and fantasies that it does create. I am completely on board with that. I have had my own experience with porn, and if I could do it all over again, I do wish I hadn't watched it. However,
well, then why are you sitting down? You know from personal experience how damaging it is, and then you refuse to stand up against it. You're a coward at that point.
I don't want to put that on to everyone. So, yeah.
I don't think there's anything, just to speak to you right now, there's anything traditional or conservative about watching two strangers having sex online. It just seems very weird and bizarre. You're
a cuck if you do. You're a loser.
And I don't even think it's beneficial in the context of marriage, because what if that pornography gets leaked somehow and it's revenge porn now whoever's involved has a much bigger problem, which is one of the problems that come from pornography. I'm a Christian. I believe in traditional Christian values. I believe that it's adultery. So you're committing adultery against your wife by viewing somebody else. So I just think it largely has societal implications. Also, if it were one thing that it was going to just stay in the bedroom and maybe just you and your spouse are going to see it, maybe, but but that's largely not the porn that we're dealing with. It's everywhere. Even if you don't want to see it, you unknowingly get exposed to it.
I kind of want to ask.
That's so true. Yeah, like every social media site now pushes that out. You will make a brand new account on any social media platform and like your feed is filled with like titties instantly. Like that's the first thing that they'll show you, probably because it's the thing that gets the most engagement right off the bat. That is the truth.
A question to the men who are on my side of the spectrum. You talk a lot about like the benefits of porn and stuff like that, and those things might be legitimately accurate things, but do you have any gripes with like the porn industry as it exists nowadays? Yeah, with like the racism that's being exploited. Like, okay, yeah.
What? What? Bro took a question about men should not watch porn too, but racism, guys.
Yeah, but everything is problematic. It's not like anything we discussed on this show is without problem.
Everything is racist, and you have to point it all out.
Madness. But yes, porn is problematic, but that doesn't rule it out as valid.
Nor is it by nature problematic, so let's not do that.
And if I can, I think I would want to clarify too that porn in and of itself isn't the issue so much as maybe a lack of regulation and responsibility placed on the business side of porn, to where there needs to be more management and oversight. Whereas porn, just by the nature of its very existence, is neutral. I understand that there can be religious connotations that may make a different analysis of that, but at the end of the day, it's still people, right? And oftentimes, especially with the porn industry, not always, there are women that are at executive positions and in the top two, but is also regulated predominantly by men. And so I think it comes back to us as men being responsible for what we're putting into the world and what we're allowing to put out there. And briefly, if I can shift for a moment, genuine question to explore your mind with this. But for example, I don't doubt that it is against the Christian faith to watch porn in whatever format that might be. But I would also be curious to know why, as a Christian, why not just make the personal decision as, hey, we as Christians are not going to watch porn, and exclusively we are against it, but whatever everybody else wants to do, fine, whatever.
Yeah, so as a Christian, I would disagree with that. And it's actually, I'm glad you asked that, because I want to touch on something that I think is a little bit broader of why do we think that some things are right for everybody? And I think that's the main difference that I've noticed between the progressive arguments and the traditional arguments, is that we seem to be rooted in something objective, that it's not just right for me. If something is correct, it is correct objectively. It's correct.
Yes. Okay. I'm glad he said this, because that's what I was going to say. And I'm glad I didn't pause the video. Objective truth exists. Okay. Which is like, that doesn't mean that specific cases don't exist, right? Like this isn't just, and I know some of you are already typing on your keyboards screaming at me saying, well, then you just disproved your own argument. You just disproved your own argument. The point he's making here is that the pointing out that certain things are bad for our psyche, certain things are bad for our health. For example, eating Twinkies and donuts every single day for your entire life is objectively bad for your health, regardless of who you are, regardless of how fast your metabolism is, regardless of how much you work out. If you eat a clean diet of nothing but Twinkies and donuts and chocolate milk every day for your entire life, that is objectively bad for your health, right? And so it doesn't mean that those two things combined are going to be what kills you, right? That's not what the point is. The point is we can take identifiable factors from doing things like that and identify these things, these factors that are influencing your life as bad, right? So like your inability to form connection or bonds with another person, like a significant other, because of your addiction to something like pornography is bad. If it's influencing your relationship in a negative way, it's bad. And for a lot of people, porn does have negative impacts on your relationship. It has negative impacts on your mental health and on your self-esteem, on your ability to be active or proactive and not lazy, right? Things like this are objectively true for the vast majority of people, which is why you have to talk about things like this in a generalized tone. You can't be specific on individual bases because we're talking about the whole population here of humanity. We're not talking about Jimbo down the street who can jerk one off in 2 minutes and be done with it, right? We're not talking and once a month, right? We're not talking about like just like it seems like such a dishonest conversation when people don't want to address the generalized conversation that we're trying to have.
Not just for me, but for everybody. And it's something that I've noticed throughout this debate. You know, should men wear skirts? Well, I don't really know. It doesn't really matter. And should people do this? Well, it doesn't really matter. They can do what they want to do and we can do what we want to do. And I wanted to point out because it seems like that is the antisocial position, that you can do this and you can do that and we can do this. And I think that the traditional side is that, you know, we have to have a sense of community. We have to come to a conclusion on things that are objectively correct and things that are objectively incorrect. And pornography is one of those things. It is detrimental. And for you to just say on every subject that, well, it's nuanced and there might be some benefits and one woman might have been helped. Okay, well, that doesn't really tell us anything. Should we watch pornography? And that was the question. Should we do it? Not, are there some nuances or is it good for some people? Is this something that we should encourage? Is this something that we should promote for people to do?
I saw some...
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the point I was trying to make too, is it's a should. It's a should statement. It's not a can you do it, right? Like, I don't think... Like, I am not of the mindset that the government should be enforcing anything that is of a religious standpoint when it comes to laws. I think the government is there to protect people's freedoms and rights. And so things like pornography should not be against the law. However, I don't think there should be a push for it. And I don't think we should be advertising it to kids. I don't think it should be on social media platforms. I don't think it should be so easily accessible. And I don't think that there should be any conversation about this. I don't think there should be an argument as to why you can just hop onto basically any porn site and just access any video if you have a smartphone, right? Like, I don't think that's good, especially when so many kids nowadays have smartphones. Like, this seems like a no-brainer. This seems like just brain dead energy.
Movement. Real quick, I want to hear why he moved out.
All right, tell you why I moved out. I can't stand judgmental people, man. Y'all, what's crazy about y'all guys, y'all act like y'all never, or maybe you haven't had a woman like you enough to take her clothes off and for you, or show you a TV picture, or show you an ass picture.
Why were you in and now you're out?
Because Mr. Judgmental over here just shifted my. Because listen. Wait, no.
Okay, let's hear what he says.
Wait, listen. That's what I'm saying. Y'all, I cannot stand. Listen, I respect what y'all are saying, but when you get judgmental, that's where it gets crazy. Y'all.
The thing is, he wasn't even being judgmental. He was saying there are things that are objectively good for you and things that are objectively bad for you, and they apply to all of us. And he's right about pornography being objectively bad for you. Like, that's not a judgment. That's not casting judgment on someone for watching pornography. That's casting judgment on what the effects are of the pornography if you were to consume it. Okay, the judgment is not on the individual. It's on the effects on the individual. It's like, bro, like, oh my gosh, I swear, stupid people.
If you know the game, you know women. Women are very sexual, and women love their bodies, and women love to appreciate their bodies, and women love men who appreciate the woman who loves touching their body, especially their husbands and girlfriends. So where we're going wrong is we're trying to say because we're not the guy to get them turned on. No, because everybody's wife played with their before, and everybody's wife has sent a video to a guy. Just because you don't know doesn't mean you're not the guy. So don't sit around. It's wrong to sit here and judge, man. It's weak. It's weak. The wife is.
He did an every guy's wife did this statement, which, I mean, like, maybe he means generalized, you know, wives do this, but he did say every wife out there has done this, which I don't know. I mean, there's like Amish wives out there who definitely have not. So, you know, like, not to be that guy that I just criticize with the nuance, but, you know, he said every, so counterpoint.
Is a freak. She is. She's freaky. She loves sex.
In a normal Islamic tradition, I can speak on behalf of probably most Muslims in just this regard. It's just not permissible. It's not in our deen. Deen just means a way of something. Like, that's not in our deen. It wasn't around 1400 years ago. It wasn't around 1500 years ago. And it's just not a part of our Aqidah, like the way how we conduct ourselves. So,
first of all, I think
fundamentally there's a disagreement that we're being judgmental from this side. I think I literally sat up there and I said, I done it before, right? That's not me judging. That's me saying I have the experience of what it can do to you. It's not a good thing. If anything, I'm judging myself and saying I engaged with it. It's not something you should do. And just because you guys think you learned how to put a Hot Wheels in your butt, that all of a sudden that's a benefit, right? Like,
what? He did what with his Hot Wheels? Girl, get some help. You learned how to put a Hot Wheels in your booty? Sonny boy, you need Jesus. What the fuck? Also, that's exactly what I was saying. It's not a judgment on the people. They're talking about the effects of it when you consume something like that, right? It's like if you consume gore, right? That in my mind is self-harm, right? If you're someone who watches like gore videos, like, oh, ISIS beheading video, that's self-harm in my opinion. And I kind of view porn in a similar way too. Not nearly as extreme, but definitely in the same basket. It's just so interesting. It's like they're saying what I'm thinking too, which is, it's good to hear.
That's a weird example, but you guys are agreeing, I'm hearing, that there's outweighing of bad things. And there's a couple good things you could get from porn, right? But that's not what we're saying. We're saying, should you do something or not? And we're agreeing on this side that you shouldn't, because the bads outweigh the goods, even if there are goods.
Well, that's not what everybody said. And this is
well, that's not what everybody said. Actually,
thing that I want to, Aldo and I've had beef.
Yeah, actually, I have the mic right now, so it's my turn to talk.
About this before on this show. What he said that I think is reflective of what some of you feel is that because of your faith, you have an objective accuracy with your point of view. And that whether you think it should be legislated or whether you think it's just how we should have social norms, one of the problems that I have and that some of us have with all of this is that you think that you believe, and I get it's part of your faith, you believe you're morally superior and your judgments thereupon are superior to ours, but that is a bullshit reason to make a mandate for other people. And nobody's saying, like a lot of you guys have repeated what we've said inaccurately in furtherance of that. So I just want to be clear, nobody here is the authority on this, but you guys have got to stop discrediting our points just because your faith backs you up. They're really
You guys need to stop coming up with good reasons for why this should not be societally acceptable. You guys got to stop disagreeing with us right now, mister, because you're Christian. You should not be disagreeing with me.
Really quick point I wanted to make is just, I'm here because they said we should spend our time watching porn. Like, how do you spend your time?
Right. Not porn.
Well, yeah, it's like I spend my time walking the dog and doing the dishes, and I volunteer at an animal rescue. And to me, when you say spending your time watching porn, that just implies a level of time commitment that I don't think is quite good.
Let me address something. So you mentioned that as long as it pertains to you, as long as you're not bothering the other person, you can do whatever you want, right? Did I
said something about like harm-related things. If you're not harming another person, there's a reason is to not, ban someone from doing something. There's a high bar.
Porn harms you. No. It harms your relationship. There's statistical data. Whatever data you guys mentioned, there's more data that backs our side up.
What the data actually suggests is that the number one predictor in someone having problems with, like, for example, their relationships or
is he going to say money? Is he going to say money? This will be interesting.
Interpersonal problems with porn is moral incongruence. So it may be more statistically likely for someone like you, a religious person or a traditional person, to have an issue with porn, but it's actually...
Wait, I gotta read this. A SAN fact check. Moral incongruence, when someone's behavior does not align with their values, can lead those who watch porn to have greater stress related to watching it and higher reports of perceived addiction. I mean, I think addiction isn't even necessarily relative to like how much your perception of it is. Like your perception of it, whether you think you are or you aren't, doesn't have an actual influence on whether you actually are or aren't, right? Your perception of it or your interpretation of how much you consume and how much you use versus actually being addicted is like two completely different things, right? Because it's like if you take someone who's like addicted to crack cocaine and you ask them, oh, are you addicted? And they say, no, I just really like it. Their perception is they don't have an addiction. But I mean, like, if they're on the streets and have no money and the last $10 they got, they spent on crack, I would say it's safe to assume that they are addicted regardless of their perception. So like their behavior does not align with their values. I mean, like to have greater stress related to watching it, maybe like they might have higher values, which means they might be more accurate because they have a higher standard that they're comparing themselves to. So like, yeah, the higher reports of perceived addiction versus someone who has low standards and thinks there's nothing wrong with doing crack cocaine is going to say, oh no, like I don't have an addiction, right? Like, and they're not going to value it because in their mind, their value is, oh, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. It's whatever. It's like
the case that people who have more liberal views with that may not be as more likely to have issues with it. Now I am standing over here because I think that, like, as Greg I think mentioned, you know, I don't think that it's something that we should be spending our time doing in the same way I don't think that we should be spending our time eating junk food, etc. But it's the balance of a literal sense versus maybe an interpretive sense. I don't think that it is as black and white. And on the point of religiosity, some of the highest consumption rates per capita for porn usage are places where porn is in fact banned.
We're all men here. We're debating porn. I want everybody reach into your heart of hearts and be as honest as you can. Have you watched porn in the last 30 days? Raise your hand if it's yes.
All right, go higher. Now go higher.
And, all right.
Some of these, my lady sent me a nice video. Some of these dudes are like, dude, last 10 minutes, man, what are you talking about?
Send me a nice video.
Thank you, guys. Okay, let's reset.
What are we getting from
Moving on to our next middle ground statement. In part 1, the question was, are depressed men weak? And the agreed upon middle ground statement was,
I guess men who are depressed should seek treatment.
Men should seek treatment.
Awesome.
All right.
So if you agree with that middle ground statement, come to the middle. If you disagree, stay seated.
Men who are depressed should seek treatment. Oh, interesting. Yes, but that doesn't necessarily mean go to a therapist. That doesn't necessarily, because like the sad thing nowadays is that therapy is a business. It's ran like a business, and the medical industry is a business, and there's someone to be profiting off of your misery, off of your depression, which creates an imbalance of like someone wants something, there's a problem that can be solved by prescribing some sort of drug. You know, I don't think that should be the first thing people go to. You know, this is the hard part. It's like therapy is helpful for some people, but for other people, I think it's actually far more harmful than helpful. So I think you have to take it with a grain of salt. You have to look at it very like logically on when you should and when you should not be going to therapy. And I assume that's what they mean by seek treatment. Because for some people, if you're like highly like religious, seeking treatment could be going to your rabbi or to your priest or your pastor and asking for help. So like seeking treatment could mean something else. So I'm just going off of what I assume the modern language means.
Yeah, so I definitely agreed with the prompt that depressed men are weak. I say that as someone who was diagnosed with clinical depression, and anxiety disorder actually too, brought on by being a cancer survivor. And it's not, depression is absolutely real, and you can't control when it happens to you. It just does. It could be for any reason, a disease. It could be because a loved one passed away, so on and so forth. But it absolutely is a choice to stay depressed and therefore to choose to stay weak. Again, that's not to say that you can't seek help, which I did. I went to a therapist. I had a social worker. I did what I needed to do to get better and come out on top. And I'm all.
See, that's good to hear, right? And this is why I qualified my statements, because like for some people that is the right path. But again, like I didn't know that that's what they were going to go for, was like the seek treatment means go see a therapist. You have to be careful with going to see a therapist because some therapists are there to make a buck off of you. Okay, that's just the truth. That's the reality of the situation.
All the more strong for it.
I mean, I guess I just want to respond to that quickly. As the one who was, the one who was there for that prompt. I mean, I guess first off, I think it's important to distinguish the difference between the literal meaning of that. Depressed men are weak, I guess, in a weaker mental state because of their illness. Sure, fine, in no pejorative sense, or if we're not attaching anything onto it, in complete agreement. Outside of that, I do think that is a harmful idea, and I want to speak a little bit to something that you said specifically regarding the idea that depression is a choice. I guess it just doesn't really make sense to me why someone would choose to be in a miserable state for a long time. Like it doesn't make sense to me. It's the same like that.
It's a choice because it doesn't have to define you. And you said something earlier about.
Well, I also don't think that that they're choosing to stay in that depressed state. I think they're not sure or unaware on how to get out of it, and so they do nothing to get out of it. Like, that's the issue. It's inaction, right? Like, if you're depressed and you're sleeping in until like 2 p.m., 2 in the afternoon every single day, and you can't get yourself out of bed, that's a good sign that you're probably depressed. You should seek help if that's the case, right? Like, and help in this case doesn't necessarily mean therapy. It could, doesn't necessarily mean that, right? So the idea that it's like, you're choosing depression is not the point. It's that you either don't know how to get out of it, you don't know that you're depressed, and you don't know why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. Could be a number of things, but it's not like, I just feel like this guy who's on screen right now, kind of like, he phrased it in such a negative way that it needs correction.
About the rhetoric, that it's harmful, but being presented with reality is what allows you to face it and do what you got to do to manage it and move forward.
And I would agree with you.
Since we're talking about treatment, we're saying everybody here says men should seek treatment if they are depressed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What was treatment like for you? What was that?
It was hard at first, having to talk with a therapist, having to meet with the social worker weekly. But over time, it helped a lot and it got better and better. And that was an active choice that I made to no longer allow depression to affect me.
Yeah, I think that's the big point, right? It's like taking action of some kind to get yourself out of that rut, because that's what you're in. You are in a rut. And like, people who want to phrase it differently and say, oh no, like you're like this permanently, you need to get on medication and you need to do this. It's like, no, like, I'm sorry, but that's not true. Okay. Because like, it's funny, we have higher rates of anxiety and depression the more modern our society gets. You'd think we'd be solving these problems or figuring out, we have access to so many different resources. We have access also to so much information online. There's like no reason for you to not try and take action on helping yourself. So if you don't take action, and if you refuse to take action, or you just like, this is where having a good community and a good like social network helps tremendously, is because they're able to pull you up and lift you up out of that, right? And that's why you need a network of people around you. That's why you need friends, like good friends that will tell you honestly what they think, and not people who will lie to you and just pat you on the back to make you feel better, because like, that's only temporary. The long-term solution is putting in the work and taking action, which it seems like this guy did.
So it absolutely is a choice.
Well, I wanted to ask a question to you. You said, like, why would people stay very unhappy? Why would they choose to stay unhappy? And I would just say to you, like, do you know anybody in a toxic relationship? Like, why would people stay in one of those relationships? And there's a lot of different reasons, but, for you to say that you don't know why people would do that.
Fair enough. Fine. But what I'm wondering is then, would you blame people who stay in toxic relationships and call them weak?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I find fair, and I think that is a harmful rhetorical statement to make that demonizes people within those relationships as if they are either primarily at fault for the situation that they are in. I agree that.
Okay, yes, because guess what? If they are full functioning adults and have agency over their mind and their body, then absolutely they can leave. Okay, I get frustrated when people bring this up too and say, oh, well, they were in like a manipulative relationship. And it's like, well, how do you not know like that if like you want something and then someone else convinces you to do something that opposes your desires and what you want for yourself, whether it be like say you wanted to go visit family, right? And your significant other, shames you and makes you feel bad about going to see your family. Oh, I need you here. You can't leave me here alone. Like, oh, that's awful. That's terrible. Why would you do this to me? Guess what? That's a huge red flag. You should be able to identify that as a huge red flag. If you can't, or if you go along with it, you are too weak to be in a relationship. Okay, you are not ready to be in a relationship. I know, spitting hard facts right now. I know I'm probably offending a lot of you guys right now, but that's okay. I don't care. Look, this is crazy, right? It's like we can't Like, yes, you might be a victim of abuse. You might be a victim of being manipulated. You might be a victim in a number of different ways, but that doesn't mean you don't have freedom of choice, right? That doesn't mean you have zero responsibility in the situation to get yourself out of that situation. Like, why do we all of a sudden forget, like, as soon as there's like an abuser involved, we completely forget that the person had a choice, multiple choices to get out of the relationship, right? And don't come at me with this like, yeah, but my friend was chained to the radiator in the basement and was being beaten daily, and so therefore you're wrong. It's like, that's not an argument, okay? That's not an argument. Any person who has freedom of choice and has a functioning brain can figure this out. This is very simple.
Everyone has some sort of personal responsibility for the situation that they exist in, and if people are depressed, they do have a responsibility to do so. But I don't think we should primarily reduce it to a lack of will.
I don't
It's
think
not a lack of
Yeah, no one did that, right? This is liberals, man, dude. They're just so dishonest. They're so dishonest with the opposing side's arguments. They take them and they twist them in order to like have something to argue against. Because the truth is, these two people are agreeing right now. That's what's so frustrating, is that like liberals and conservatives, progressive and traditional men both agree on this, right? There is shared responsibility. They both agree on this. And then he goes, you can't just boil it down to it's 100% their fault. It's like, no one said that. No one said all men should be watching porn. No one, that's never the argument. That was never the statement. So why are we talking about it?
So I think, does anyone else work in mental health? Kind of? No? Currently I'm undergoing my MFT program to become a licensed marriage family therapist right now. So I already work with people who have mental health issues. I already work as a caseworker, social worker, whatever you want to call it. And I won't push back on mental health as as it exists. If you're depressed, it's a weakened state of mind, like we said before, right? But I do want to push back on the idea that seeking treatment's easy, as someone who works in there.
Yeah.
As you guys were saying, that like getting over that first hurdle.
That I had was, it's temporary, it's not permanent.
Yeah.
That's something that I would always tell myself. Me being homeless, sleeping underneath an MMA cage, getting ready to train the next day.
And
it's temporary, it's not permanent.
And I have clients who have been homeless for 20 plus years, and just seeing how that 20 plus years of them pushing back treatment, pushing their time to get help, has ultimately jaded them to the idea of even seeking help in the first place. But a lot of that comes from those original ideas that mental health isn't real, or that, you know, that their depression wasn't real.
All right, so let's hear from some of the men.
I mean, that's a crazy idea. Like, depression is real, but I don't think depression should be boiled down to an incurable thing that can only be fixed with treatment via medication. I hate this concept that so many people now want to just like take some sort of like, I don't know, some sort of like drug in order to fix their problems, whether they be fat and want to take Ozempic, or if they're, you know, got anxiety and they want to take a Valium. I don't know. What do they prescribe for anxiety now? I don't know. But whatever it is, drugs are sometimes the answer, but you should exhaust all of your other resources before you go to drugs, okay?
Men who are still seated, why aren't you coming in for the middle ground prompt?
Yeah, so as a mental health professional, obviously, like, it's not like I don't care, and I don't think that, like, people should just do nothing, you know, if they're depressed. I think the reason why I didn't step forward was because I feel like maybe I took the prompt a little bit, like, literally. So, like, I don't think every patient that is depressed needs to necessarily, like, be...
Dude, okay, not conservatives doing the every statement. Also, dude, like, I hate this. Like, no one is saying every. Like, you're adding that word to the beginning of the statement. How, like, why are people so stupid?
Hospitalized, I guess maybe that's how I took it. It could look like outpatient treatment, or maybe like there's other things you can do. Like, I know for me, if I'm really anxious, like spending time with friends helps. The I Am Affirmations app, like that really grounds me, and practicing mindfulness and like going to the beach or like shopping, or so I feel like
I want to reread the prompt for you. Men who are
thank God
depressed should seek treatment. Do you not agree with that?
I'm saying that some people might hear that and think, oh, they need to be hospitalized. And I'm saying treatment doesn't have to be hospitalization. It can look a
What? What is he talking about? Okay, this guy's crazy. This guy's a loony.
a lot of different ways.
Right,
So
but
that's
if
why-
we broaden that interpretation of treatment, are you in the circle?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Come on in.
Yeah.
Well, not, okay.
And I kind of want to say something.
All right, let's hear from somebody inside.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of like want to respond to that a little bit because I actually used to agree with that. And there was a time in my life where I was like incredibly, incredibly depressed, and also just so happens to be the time when I was the most addicted to porn. But that's neither here.
Correlation or causation? Correlation, obviously. Well, possibly, but most likely correlation there. But that's really interesting. And yeah, like as people do more porn stuff, anxiety, depression, lower self-esteem, lower self-worth, all that stuff seems to increase. So yeah, I mean, there is a trend there, and there's plenty of scientific data to support that.
Here nor there. But for the longest time, I thought that I could just like fight it myself, kind of like, you know, alpha male kind of vibes, just like, you know, overcome kind of like, stoicism type thing. Like I was really weakened in my faith at the time. So I didn't even feel like God could even help me because it was just so bad. And I was just like so depressed and so lost. Growing up, even as a, you know, evangelical Christian, is like therapy was kind of like stigmatized a little bit. It's just like talking to therapists is, you know, that shows like a sign of weakness. And I was like, well, I'm a man. Well, I mean, I can't really show that side of weakness, but I'm just saying when I was at kind of the lowest of low in my life, I almost wish that, like going back now, I would have seen like a Christian therapist or something like much sooner, because it is like, especially like with the porn thing and just being depressed, it's just like, it's really hard to come out of that yourself. Like you need community, you need people. And so I was actually in that side as I was going through that. But now that I'm out of it and kind of on the other side, I kind of understand why it's such like a big thing.
Yeah, real quick, as a dating relationship coach, what I do with my guys,
The dude who's talking about clapping cheeks and seeing girls' butts, and this dude is a dating coach. Oh, this will be good.
Problem is, y'all can laugh all you want. You ain't got no game like I have. Laugh all you want.
Bruh. Oh my gosh. You can't make this shit up, dude. Oh my goodness.
But anyway, as I was saying, the problem is why depression is soft, because everybody can't be a man, and all lying, everybody has to be a grassy and lying sometimes, is because most of these guys, they're not honest. They again, if you're depressed over something outside of relationships, I'm just talking about those, they were talking about relationships. A lot of these guys set expectations for women, and they have a lot of emotions and femininity, and they get all soft, and women don't like soft people. They like aggressive, dominant men who tell women what to do, not in a dictatorship way. But when you're soft and you're weak and you set an expectation for women, and then they say no to you, and then you all soft and broken-hearted, people don't like, excuse my language, a man who has a tighter than a woman. They won't respect those people.
So are you saying, you know,
What does that have to do with seeking treatment? What does that have to do with men who are depressed? Bro, you got a pussy tighter than a woman.
oh, if you're seeking help with your depression, that makes you soft?
Well, yeah, well, no, okay, yeah, if you okay, here's the thing.
Wait, no, that's not what I meant.
Yes. You're not being honest with yourself, because you can go to therapy and sit there and have a guy say, how does that make you feel? Or you can look in the mirror and take this thing called accountability.
Okay, so this is someone who has never actually dealt with mental health issues. So like he's never been at the low point where he has had to actually reach out for assistance or help, which good for him. Envious of him. But I mean, like, you can't fault someone for being ignorant, right? Like, ignorance is not necessarily stupidity, it's a lack of experience. And so like when you look at someone like this who's talking about clapping cheeks and big booty bitches, right, and then says I'm a dating coach, and then like rants about dudes having pussies tighter than women because they shouldn't seek treatment for their depression. I mean, like, dude, this is not someone whose opinion you want to take seriously. You just kind of like look at and laugh
and sit there and say that, you know what, I'm the reason I'm depressed. It's not her fault. We can't sit around and point the finger at everybody else. We've got to start looking at ourselves as men and not bunny rabbits, and sit around here and saying, oh, the sky's falling because a girl doesn't like me. Or
Bro, that is what therapy is, though. Okay, like now I'm going to defend therapy for a second because that is the intention of therapy, is to help you look inward to yourself and realize, what do you have control over? What can you change? What are you doing wrong? And how is your mindset functioning? How are you processing the things happening in your life? Like, and how does that process affect how you feel? Right? Like, this is the most brain dead, stupid shit I've ever heard. That's literally what therapy is holding a mirror up to you. Right? It's not about like, dude, oh my gosh, man.
Or I got to go to the gym because a girl doesn't like me.
There was a lot there that I'm going to...
Yeah, like, how do you respond to that? How do you even respond to something like that?
Try my best to speak to. The reason why I wanted to speak to it is because I'm a black man. And growing up in black culture, I'm going to say a lot of us, not all, but I would say a lot of black men are taught to bottle up your feelings inside, not to cry, not to show women any emotion at all. And I would say a lot of men are taught that as well from a toxic masculine perspective.
You know what's funny is I hear that perspective from women more than I hear it from men. I have never heard a man in my life say, don't cry, tell me not to cry. I have never heard a man say that to another man, ever. I have heard women say that to other men. I like quite frequently, actually. So it's interesting. I mean, like, and if you're in the, oh no, I'm not gonna make that joke. But yeah.
We're taught, do not show any emotion because it is a sign of weakness. But even in the...
Which actually makes sense because the fatherless rate in black communities is a lot higher than in other communities. So, I mean, like, a lot of sons are being raised by single mothers. So I wonder, you know, like, if it's the mothers teaching their sons not to cry. That would be interesting to look at. Science should get on that.
Bible, Joseph went behind closed doors to cry. And then he came out and he dealt with his business, right? So regarding to the things that he just said, treatment can mean a ton of different things. It could be, I'm going to call my wife up and seek counsel from her. I'm going to call my friends up. It could be going to the gym. It could be...
Yeah, see, this I agree with 100%. This is what I was saying initially at the start of this segment, is that treatment shouldn't necessarily mean going to therapy or getting some sort of like drug, right? Like, if that's the statement, men who are depressed should seek treatment. And if that's the understanding of what it means to get treatment, is to like, it's more of a broad sense of treatment, whether it be having a close knit community or having a significant other that you can talk to, or going to therapy, right? Like going to the gym, then yes, that in my mind is treatment, because going to the gym absolutely has a massive impact on how you view yourself, on your self-esteem. I mean, just in general, you feel so good. It increases endorphins. I mean, just generally, it's just working out is so good for you, and being sedentary is not. And if you're sedentary, going outside, spending time outside is so good for you. Getting sunlight is great for you. Like, these are things that we don't think about because we live in such a developed society that society just teaches you that you don't need these things, right? It's you don't need to go outside. You have everything inside. Why do you need to go outside? Right? It's like, yeah, I agree with his
going
statement
for
here.
a run. It can mean a whole bunch of different things. It could be going to a therapist. Treatment can mean so many different things, as opposed to bottle up your feelings inside, don't show any emotion, and then all of a sudden it explodes. And then that's the worst alternative. So I just disagree with what he said, because it feels like this counterintuitive process to actually what therapy is supposed to do. And that can mean a whole different ton of things in treatment.
Absolutely. Well, my contention is kind of more so like a little bit too self obsessed in a way, just for lack of a better word. Like it's too inward looking, and I feel like a man's role is to be more so outward looking, out in the world, taking care of business in the world. It's sort of an
Bro, but how could you ever improve in life if you never look inwards to yourself? How could you possibly improve or be a better man if you never look inward or do the work to improve yourself internally? Like, if you want to have the greatest impact externally, you need to do something internally that will boost yourself to a new level, right? Like, that is so common sense.
I guess to I'm sure some of the red would agree, it would be analogous to like the woman taking care of like the private home life, and then the man taking care of like the world. And it's sort of like that way we're kind of like looking in a little bit too much a lot of it seems like it is genuine trauma, but then there's also a lot of it that is like people from like they take slights from childhood and they exaggerate them to a certain level to where they become a little bit too obsessed. And
okay, so how do you deal with that? How do you take those slights in childhood, as some people would call them, childhood trauma? How do you deal with that? Do you seek treatment? Or do you just say fuck it? I'm like this now.
I don't think you need some like psychiatrists that read a few books to tell you that you just need to be more self-reliant. You need to talk to yourself a little bit nicer and stuff like that.
Just to respond to what both of you said. So depression doesn't come because you're focused on certain slights. For the most part, it's due to a chemical imbalance in the brain, or it's a result of trauma. Hang up. I gave you a bunch of time to speak after I interrupted you at first, but then I gave you a bunch of time to speak. Now it's my...
According to the Cleveland Clinic, researchers don't know the exact cause of depression, but contributing factors include brain chemistry, the chemical imbalance, genetics, stress, medical conditions, and medications. Okay, the one thing with this, right, like if you were to do a brain scan on someone with depression, you're not going to know if the chemical imbalance is causing the depression or if the depression is causing the chemical imbalance, right? Like this idea, or that the chemical imbalance and the depression are just the same thing caused by some other root cause. Like you cannot specify the link between the chemicals somehow magically increasing, right? And then that's causing the depression. It's like the chemicals and the depression are linked, but they're going to be like synonymous, or they're going to be parallel when they increase. So like there's other things, contributing factors that cause the depression also cause the increase in those chemicals. So you can measure that and say, oh, well, they have increased levels of, like, if you look at someone who is extremely happy, right? Or someone who just like ate a donut, they're going to have increased dopamine. They got a dopamine hit because of all the sugar. It tastes good, makes the brain go happy, right? Like it's not like, they're happy because the dopamine increased. It's like those two things are the same. They're one is a chemical representation of an emotion. Right. So it's like, it's not that simple of just being like, oh, because these chemical levels are high, it's the chemicals causing the depression. It's like, they're the same thing. You're talking about the same thing. So it's stupid.
My turn. So what you're applying is you're saying, it's not a chemical imbalance. It's not due to trauma and not being properly treated. It's just because you're looking into yourself. What that's doing to someone who already has depression is actually making them more depressed. You're not offering them a solution, not offering them any sort of treatment. You're actually making them more sick with what they have. Now, I understand that you can shake your head all you want, brother, but listen, this is the... Brother, you're your own pickup artist. No. Eat my... Oh, you loser. No.
Oh, boy. Trouble in paradise. Oh, he's getting up. He's mad. He's looking for some big booty bitches now.
You don't get to stand there. No.
Hey,
come, put the chairs.
I'm going to put these chairs and block your path, mister. You're not going anywhere. These fucking dweebs.
Hey.
No, I don't.
I think it's fair. For him.
It's not. You don't get to stand up and say.
Otherwise, there'll be a problem.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Hey, this is.
Hey, quiet.
Be respectful. Be respectful.
Don't walk in.
I didn't lose my cool. I didn't lose my cool.
Hey,
this is what I'm saying. Nah. This is what I'm saying.
Hey, look.
You was disrespectful.
The alpha male in his natural habitat.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you right now. What time we out of here? We gonna find out.
No.
Bro, shut up, fatty. No one wants to hear you gobble another burger. Okay, shut up.
Find out.
Hey,
okay.
We can't.
And then you gonna call the police.
Hey, we gotta be done. Hey, man, we gotta be.
Oh, and then you're gonna get George Floyded or something.
You gonna call the police, right? I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you.
Hey, man, we're gonna have to ask you to leave.
I'm gonna tell you. Oh no, ask him to leave.
I'm gonna talk to him next. Talk to him next.
I was disrespectful.
I'm gonna talk to him, but this isn't helping.
Hey, I'm never gonna say I apologize for being disrespectful.
You need to pause it.
And I apologize. I should have shown more respect. And to you, I apologize. I'm sorry. That was not in the spirit of what we're doing here. And I'm sorry. And
I'm sorry too, man. Because ultimately, I don't want to be. I thought we're all human beings. I respect.
Bro, if you take a slight like that, if you take an insult in that way, you get all aggressive and physical over an insult, over some words, you're the bitch. You're a little bitch, okay? Because you can't handle your emotion. you're the person who needs to go seek treatment. Okay, you got anger issues. If you turn if you turn an argument into a physical fight, into a physical altercation, bro, you are the bitch. Okay, I'm sorry, man. Control your emotions. Don't be a little girl. Don't be a little baby. Control your emotions. You're a grown ass man. Come on, dude. Gosh, it's embarrassing.
Respect everybody, man. I just want to be respected too. This is like my brother here, man.
Hey, guys, come over here. Can you come here for a second? John, can you come here for a second? Are we comfortable? Everybody quiet. Everybody quiet on set.
I apologize. Sorry, John.
Everybody take a deep breath, and then let's focus on what we're disagreeing on. Let's focus on the issues.
So I disagreed with the prompt because I don't think we should seek pharmaceutical treatment because I'm against pharmaceuticals. You're just going to ruffle some feathers, but I don't believe in depression as a mental illness or a mental disorder. I believe in it as an experience that is caused by external factors that are in your control. And if you guys say, oh, he's bullshitting, I have a bachelor's in psych, a master's in counseling, I decided to not do the therapy path because I didn't believe in those practices. So for anyone that's experiencing this, it's all external factors. And I'll ask you guys this, whoever believes in pharmaceuticals, for the chemical imbalance that's been proven wrong for 30 years, did you ever get tested for your chemical imbalance before you were prescribed pharmaceutical drugs? The answer is no. You did not get an fMRI. You did not get a urine test or a blood test that tests serotonin. You did not do a PET scan that does to monitor the serotonin within your brain. So I'm just letting you guys know these are pushed on as a way for Big Pharma to push that depression is real. And I just believe it's an experience that everyone will experience differently, but it's not something that you can't control. And also, if you don't believe in it, how can it be real? If I don't believe in it.
Damn, dude. Yeah, he right. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's accurate. That's an accurate statement. I mean, like, that's like kind of what I was saying at the beginning too, is like, you know, the stuff I lean away from is the pharmaceutical stuff because it's a business. There's money to be made off of you. And so why cure you when they can treat you? You know, there's an incentive there for them to basically just keep you strung along as long as possible.
Because you can't objectively measure it. Yeah. It's a psychiatric opinion, and it's a doctor's opinion, and there's no objective way to measure it.
What would you say to a man, though, who is in a, subjectively in a state of depression, if not seeking treatment?
I said I'm fine with seeking treatment, just not pharmaceuticals. I'm against pharmaceuticals.
So you're pro-treatment
your first thing for anything, if you're feeling depressed, is you do the 5 components of your physical health: your diet, exercise, sun intake, hydration, and sleep. Those are your first 4. Then you could go to spirituality, you go to accountability routine, you could fix your social connections, but you don't need a drug to tell you to alter your brain to tell you have a disease that's not objectively measured.
You know what's crazy is like society has been like more and more disconnected because of technology, and humans evolved with community, surrounded by others, with a close-knit community for safety and security. And the social aspect of being a human is so critical to our mental health that like we've effectively cut and severed all of those connecting lines and then think, why is everyone so depressed? How'd this happen? It's like, come on, think, people.
I just want to respond really quickly to the guys over here. So the reason I got up is because I was sitting down is because it said seek help. It didn't specify how help. I agree with you. If you're feeling depressed, internally look, deal with it yourself, get up, I'm a Christian, and turn to Christ, turn to God, deal with it myself, get back up and do it. That's help. I mean, it's not pharmaceutical help. I completely agree with what Steve said about strength and being an accountable man. I completely agree with what was said over here. I just think that the reason I stood up was because I see help in many different ways. I acknowledge it. I'm not at my best right now. Let me get at my best. Let me do what I have to do. Let me speak to God, speak to my family, that kind of thing.
Just very quickly, I second that, by the way. I just wanted to say that as men, we should be uplifting and helping and inspiring each other. When it comes to depression, whether you believe it's your fault or not, whether you believe it's real or not, whether you believe it's a disease or not, it does affect people, and we see what happens. The ramification of it is suicide. Taking your own life. I can speak to that personally as well. I did attempt to take my own life 3 times, and the reason why I mention it is just because 80% of men make up the suicide rates, which is 5 times that of women, and it's due to depression and primarily loneliness. And so I think if men reached out to other men, a lot less of that would be happening.
I think like as far as you go, I largely, especially working in the field now, I largely agree that overall, I think there's a lot of different ways for treatment. You know, it's not just pharmaceuticals, it's not just therapy for somebody. But I think at the end of the day, there are some people who do need pharmaceuticals, specifically those with a drug-induced schizophrenia.
Okay, we're talking about depression. I knew he was going to say some shit like this and trying to wrap it into depression. That's not what we're talking about. Yes, if you are bipolar or schizophrenic, or you like, dude, like this is, oh my gosh, it's just so intellectually dishonest. It's such a lie. Saying something like that when the conversation topic is about depression is so dishonest, because now you're trying to correlate having drugs available for people with schizophrenia or bipolar or whatever it might be that's actually like a genetic condition, and saying, oh, you know what? You know, here's what we're going to do. We're going to use this argument to, you know, validate the argument for giving drugs to people who are depressed, rather than saying we should look at other alternatives. Also, I love Gru back here. We got Gru from Despicable Me in the back. He just needs to be bald. It'd be fucking perfect.
I mean, being in the field, I don't know if you worked in the public sphere as well. That's something I see a lot every day. And those people without their medications can't function at all. Overall, I think that there has become an over-reliance on medications within the mental health field. But I think that's a symptom of the idea that mental health is something that is as treatable as a cold.
Nope. It is a symptom of greed. If there is an area or a market to profit off of, people will. People will take advantage of that market. They will identify the market and they will capitalize on it. Okay. That is why it is a business. That is why the pharmaceutical industry is one of the most wealthy industries that there is because it is a business. There are a lot of hurt people who are seeking help, and the best way to help them, i.e. help your own pocket, is by feeding them pharmaceuticals that they have to keep coming back for more of, because it gives them temporary satisfaction or relief from their problems. Okay. And without that drug, they don't get the same feeling. Okay. It's really simple.
You know, it's something that can be just wiped away with a couple of pills. Whereas I think it does matter what your group is. It does matter, you know, who you hang out with. It does matter what you think about yourself overall. Like that's kind of the main idea with depression too.
I mean, I think the over reliance on pills is also a symptom of the pharmaceutical industry and their lobbying towards giving more and more patients more and more to the bottom line. But the reason I switch, because everyone seems to be inviting people back in every time they say they like this version of treatment, but that version of treatment. The reason I sat down after the first doctor talked was essentially because I've always kind of had this belief that you treat mental health the way you treat physical health, in the sense that if you break your leg, go to the goddamn hospital. But if when you fell, you just scraped your knee, stand up, suck it up and keep moving. So that's why it's not always like, oh, does this need a treatment protocol for more vitamin D by going for a 10-minute grounding walk barefoot? No, we don't need to systematize everything. Just like for the smaller stuff, just be normal and like push yourself to be a better version of yourself, and that'll resolve most of it.
I think that's a good point. Okay, I think that's like a fair point. Like, if you had one bad day, you don't need to go check yourself into a mental institution. I think the point here is like men who are depressed, right? So if you have been depressed for a while, not like you had a rough week where you had like 2 family members die, your dog died, you lost your job, like you're going through the ringer at that point, but that doesn't necessarily mean you are depressed, right? Like depression is a state of being that you can pull yourself out of. That's why I said earlier, I describe it as a rut you're in, because you can get out of it, but it's like you're stuck in that rut until you take action to get out of it. Now, having a bunch of stuff happen simultaneously can put you in the rut. However, that doesn't necessarily, like, if you pull yourself out quickly enough, right, you're not going to be depressed. So like again, the statement, very specific, men who are depressed should seek treatment. It's like, it's not like you scraped your knee, i.e. had a bad week or a bad day, and now you have to go check yourself in, right? You're institutionalized now. Like that's not it's just, again, I don't know, like he's on the right like he's right, but also like he's inaccurate.
What you are touching on here is the fact that there are different levels of severity with depression.
Sure.
Right? Like have you heard of treatment-resistant depression?
I mean,
it's what it basically is what it sounds like. You know,
Yeah,
the
I
treatments
figure
don't really work,
context,
and there are a lot of, you know, I'm not in the health field, but there are a lot of physical measures of depression. Depression is a physical illness. You have reduced hippocampal volume, that's part of your brain. You have differences in your serotonin, your dopamine.
Again, it says low serotonin and dopamine levels can cause depression. That I don't believe is true, because that is not the root cause. You guys need to like focus. What is causing those low serotonin and dopamine levels? Is it because you never go outside? Is it because you never talk to anyone in person? Is it because you have no community? Is it because you only sit at home and eat candy, chips, and soda? Right? Like this idea that you have low serotonin and dopamine levels just because that's who your makeup is, that's not true. Right? Like that is my issue with this. It's like if you leave yourself in this rut for an extended period of time, yes, I guess your brain can atrophy, which fucking sucks. But like cortisol, the stress hormone, can also affect depression, but cortisol doesn't just increase. You had a major life event like losing your job, right? Losing your job all of a sudden can absolutely cause your stress levels to go up. Okay, but that doesn't mean that your stress levels just went up just because, and you're stressed out and it puts you in depression because your cortisol went up. Right? Like it's mind-boggling. If you get into a rut, if you are depressed because you lost your job, and so you're stressed out, and so you're stressed, so you can't get out of bed, and then you enter into depression, you don't feel like doing anything. Do you know how you fix that? You fix the problem. Okay, you get a job. You find something that brings your life purpose, right? You find a community that you can lean on. You go for walks, you get sunlight. You start helping yourself. You get enough sleep. You drink enough water, right? This is like this idea. It says like low serotonin and dopamine levels can cause depression. No, they're linked. Like if you are depressed, it's because you have low serotonin or low dopamine levels because something else caused that. It's not just like randomly you get hit with this. It's like that's nonsense.
Your cortisol goes up. Your inflammatory markers go up. You can see differences in the electrical conductivity in your brain. Depression might not even present the same way, right? Like it could be episodic. So I think that we're having kind of a reductionist conversation where a lot of people are thinking about their personal experiences, and they are taking their personal experiences and using that to infer what should be done. Whereas, like, for example, I cut my finger the other day. I drove myself to the urgent care and I got it stitched up. If it had been a less bad cut, I would have slapped a Band-Aid on it. But I'd shot my arm off, I'm not driving, right?
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of this depends on factors that we're not considering, and I think that's just something that is an important context to add to this conversation.
Hey, before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News for powering the fact checks in this video. Straight Arrow News is an app and website.
If a man is failing in his leadership role, then a woman should be able to step up.
Yeah, I agree with that. A woman should be able to step up if her man is failing as a leader.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, man.
I'll give my take right now. If a man is failing in his leadership role, he should step down. That's what I think. I think he should have the balls to step down and say, I can't handle the responsibility right now for X, Y, or Z reasons. He should have the balls to step down, the metaphorical balls, obviously, right? Like if you're failing in a leadership position and you're unable to recognize that, then I think she should leave. Sorry, I know it sucks.
You know? If you agree, go in.
She should be able to step up. Yeah, she should be able to step up.
I'll start with a personal anecdote. My family, we try to be traditional. We're a Roman Catholic household. And the reason I say that the woman should stand up if the man is failing is because that's something that I saw in my childhood and in my family. My dad is the leader of our household. He always has been, and he was the breadwinner for my childhood. And in a single year, he lost his business, had a heart attack, and his father died, which he started his business with. And that was a bad time in our childhood, in our family life. They hid it from us kids growing up, and we had a great childhood, so that's great. But I look back at my mom, who stuck with my dad through that. She went back to work. She was a stay-at-home mom her entire life, and she stuck with him. And she went back to work, and she got him through that. And the entire time, she always looked at my dad with loving eyes, always looked at him as the leader, always saw him as the man of the house, but she stuck with him. And as a kid, being able to see that relationship, see that marriage, that was something really important, and I think something kind of unique nowadays, that I got to see that. And especially in a Christian household, that's something that we believe, that you get married and you are together for life. And especially nowadays, I see a lot of relationships like that, or even a lot more minor things, that those relationships wouldn't last. And so while I know a lot of guys on this side might be thinking, well, if the man isn't, sticking up to it, then that woman should find a new man. I understand maybe some of what you guys are thinking, and you'll tell me in a second. But that's something I thought about for my own life, and I think that's something that we should all want in a relationship.
Let's hear from someone else here. You're standing by your statement.
I guess I'm not too sure what my progressive brethren are going to say up here. I guess I do understand that maybe the prompt says something, or the middle ground statement says something that may be misinterpreted, at least maybe I'm misinterpreting it. The way that I view if a man is failing, then the woman should step up, isn't necessarily like if a man is failing, it is your responsibility to fix it to the woman. More so that it shouldn't just be that a man should be able to tell a woman, no, I'm still going to keep doing what I'm doing, and you do not have a say in this because I'm the man. I believe that it's a partnership. I think 100%, no matter what's happening in the relationship, as long as you're both working together and you're both trying to make sure that you have a successful life together and a successful life for your family, then that's all that matters, regardless of the leadership roles. Not necessarily that one person needs to lead or the other person needs to lead. More so, we all just need to work together because that's what we got married to do and that's what we agreed to do because that's what the partnership is.
Let's hear from.
I'll take this.
Oh,
one
you're coming in
to start off with, if you don't mind. The reason why I cannot join you all typically in the middle is because I'm gay. So that whole entire argument is completely.
No one is talking about you. It's not about you. If a man is failing in a leadership role, then a woman should be able to step up. Yes, like, don't you want a competent woman who can step up? Like, if you get fucking like shot 6 times and you're put in a coma and you're in the hospital, like, don't you want her to be able to step up and help? Like, I don't understand. Like, depends on how long is he failing in the role for. Like, there's a lot of like what ifs, right? There's a lot of like information here that's not given, but I feel like it should be pretty like obvious that it's best intentions involved here.
That's a wrecking ball, because how I view relationships from a homosexual male to male, when I mean relationship, it's more of a partnership. Now, yes, I've had great, experiences where my mom and dad have been together for over 40 years and they love each other. And I've seen where my dad has taken the blow and my mom has had to step up. But that doesn't apply to my circumstance because as a gay man, sometimes it's 50-50, sometimes it's 30-70. It just depends. And it's
Bro, that's you're just describing a normal relationship. That's just okay, dude. Oh, man, I swear everyone thinks everything's about them.
Not cut and dry.
Yeah, so I think that we're still sitting here because that middle ground basically affirms the initial question that men should lead. But if he can't lead, that's when the woman. So that implies then that men should lead. So that's, and most of us take an egalitarian view that it's like a partnership. So that's why we're still here, because women should lead only if the man can. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the caveat right there.
Mm-hmm. I struggled with that as well. I came over here. What was your name again? Sorry. Keno. Yeah, Keno got me over here because I was, a lot of this for me, I've been struggling with how literally to take all these prompts. And the way he described it, I do agree with his framing. I do agree as well that, we shouldn't assume that one gender is taking the leading role. I do think a good part of an interdependent relationship is if one person is in a role, whatever that role is, or whatever those roles are, and they hit a speed bump, the other person kind of steps in.
Yes.
I'm married. I've been married
That is absolutely what the prompt means. I'm glad he's not retarded. I mean, he's Gru. He's a super genius. He's a mega genius. Okay. Like, yes, obviously the prompt is like saying if a woman is failing in her leadership role, then a man should be able to step up. Yes, I would agree with that. I would be standing for that one too, because it's specifying who is in the leadership role. If a man is failing in his leadership role, if a woman is failing in her leadership role, like this is very basic. If a Zem is failing in their relationship role, you get the idea.
For 10 years. I'm gay, so I also relate to my fellow gay man's confusion about some of these things. But there's been times where, you know, I have really struggled and my husband has stepped up and vice versa. So in that framing of the prompt, I agree, and that's why I came over here. But I do agree that some of the implications are uncomfortable if you look at it a certain way.
The reason why I'm sitting over here is because I think that no matter what adversities we face, like being someone that's married close to 20 years, sure, it's okay to have those moments, but it's not my wife's duty to step up. It's maybe...
No, it is. It is her duty through sickness or through health, like richer or poorer. It is her duty. That's what marriage is, okay? You become one. It's a union of two souls, two lives, okay? No, I'm sorry. If you're with someone, with a woman who you think won't step up, you married the wrong woman. That's crazy.
Maybe, you know, her duty in a relationship to remind me that, like, hey, I understand you're going through something, you know, hey, you just got fired, or hey, you're going through something tough. It's good to hear her kind of be like, hey, don't worry, like, I'm here, you know? But it's not her job now to be like, all right, it's time for me to step up and like start making more money because you're making less money. It's never okay.
Sure it is. If she has the time, if she's got free time on her hands and you guys are struggling and you're not able to find a job immediately, yeah, it is her responsibility to make sure you guys are taken care of. If you're the one doing all the taking care of indefinitely, right, and then you stumble and you fall, which happens in life all the time to everyone at some point, and your wife refuses to take on an extra shift at work because she doesn't want to, it's not her responsibility, you married a selfish bitch. Okay? I'm sorry. It's just true. It's just true. Regardless of how traditional your point of view is, if you are in a marriage, you are there to support each other through thick and thin. You are a team. Okay, and if one person stumbles and falls, the other person is there to help pick them up. And if unable to help pick them up immediately, at least pick up some of the slack to give the other person the time to get back on their feet. Like, this is a no-brainer conversation. This is what a relationship, this is what marriage is supposed to be. So I don't understand how anyone is sitting down right now. This is actually mind-boggling that so many people are still seated.
Because it also creates like this continuous back and forth of maybe even creating like a dependence on my wife. I'm like, oh, it's okay to be weak, or it's okay to fail in my traditional roles as a man because my wife's got me anyway, you know? And so I think that'll build like a tolerance in my head of like...
No, if it builds a tolerance in your head, that's a you problem. Okay? That is absolutely... Like, if you take advantage of the fact that your spouse is taking care of you, and you don't try and go find another job the second you lose yours, then I'm sorry, buddy. That's on you. That is a you problem. You're a weak man then, okay? Oh my gosh. This guy's pissing me off.
Oh, it's okay to, you know, be weak 6 months out of the year, or, oh, you know, the next time we face adversity, it's just best I just, you know, I can just kind of kick back because my wife's going to step up. And I think that sends a message to her that, like, you know, to this day, you know, praise God, there's never been a time where she's looked at me and she's like, wow, like what's wrong with this? Why aren't you fighting for us, for this family, for our home, for our children?
Can I go quick? I think the reason I'm not in this circle is you're never going to win me over on this idea that relationships should fundamentally be structured by one person leading another. That is not the way my brain comports. You know, you can talk to me all day about it until you're blue in the face. I fundamentally do think it should be a partnership between two people. And what you said over here, this idea of, oh, you know, I can't be weak around my wife if I'm vulnerable with her, if I, you know, disclose to her what's going on, or however you want to frame it. Like, I think that's so harmful, because for me, my partner should be the person who I'm most comfortable being my vulnerable self with. And if I can't...
It's just crazy because like I hear all the time like women saying they want a strong leader, they want a partner who is going to lead the relationship, and then they fight with their partner. So it's like it's the most like it's so backwards, right? Like they'll preach about how they want like a strong alpha man or whatever to lead the relationship that they can submit to, and then they reject that and fight against the guy at every turn. It's the most bizarre thing ever. And it's so funny too. It's like, why say you want that if you don't actually want that? Just be honest with what you want. Be honest with yourself and be honest with the person you're talking to or starting to date, so they are aware of what it is your expectations are in the relationship. Like how much effort you're going to be putting into the relationship. Like it can't remain in every single category. It can't be like 70-30, because then the whole relationship is 70-30. Like a relationship should be 50-50 spread out across multiple different categories, whether it be finances are like 80-20 in one, and then like cleaning the house is like 80-20 on her side, right? Like you have to find a balance. You can't just like expect everything to be 50-50 down the center, because guess what? Like what happens when both of you come to a decision and neither of you agree, and it's a 50-50 household on everything in every single category, and you can't know like who decides? Like you need someone who's going to be a deciding factor. You have to have a leader, whether it's him or her, doesn't really matter. You guys decide that amongst yourselves, but a relationship does need a leader. Like it does. Otherwise it's just not going to work.
Be that myself with that person. I'm not going to be with that person. And I think like this idea that you just always have to tough it out no matter what leads to people just spinning their wheels. The problems often don't get better. They just get worse because people can't lean on the people in their life that they are designed to be able to lean on. So I think
no, the problems get worse when someone can't take blame or responsibility. They cannot accept responsibility or admit that they were wrong. That's where a lot of these problems stem from, is people's inability to accept accountability for their issues or for where they were wrong. Like that's what I see all the time in relationships, is like one side being completely incapable of taking any responsibility.
I think this whole idea that if you're ever going to put the word lead in a relationship that isn't through a corn maze, I am not going to agree with that type of statement.
Well, yeah, I think that's pretty crazy.
Can I just respond real quick? Just because you really like talked to me real quick. I'm not saying you can't be reliable. I have other sources that I go to. So I have people that I go to, like if I'm, if I'm, I have a brother that I have a great relationship. I have people at church. I have a men's group as well. I go to them because they're more experienced as male leaders that believe in the same things. Of course, I'm not going to.
Bro, that's like a huge issue. Your significant other should be your primary source of like support. Like your partner, your wife, if you're married, your wife should be your number one supporter. Like, I got you when you need me to get you. Like there should be no question about it, because otherwise it makes it seem like you can't trust your partner to help you when you need it. Like, and that's a scary thought.
Going to win you over, but that's why you're on that side and you're wearing blue.
Okay, fair enough.
But let's just move past that disagreement.
We all talk about like how it's supposed to be a partnership, and the reason I am here is because a partnership also, I know you're gonna hate this, but delineating the business sense, a partnership has different responsibilities. It has people who are best at certain things. When it comes to even depictions of Hindu deities, there's one famous depiction where the body is physically split in half, one side man, one side female. Because here's the thing, leadership is a, can I swear, shitty job. Leadership is a shitty job, and it's a menial job. What do women have?
I mean, dude, yeah, like leadership comes with all the responsibility and zero glory. Like if you're the leader, right, you are making the hard decisions that maybe aren't going to be popular decisions for the crew, right? Like if you're captain of a boat and you're making decisions and the crew doesn't like it, there's always a chance of mutiny, okay, of your first mate, forming a mutiny against you. But I think the point here he's making is really valid. It's a valid point where he's saying like, you can't look at it like one dimensional, which so many people do. They think leadership means that the leader is just basically a dictator. A leader listens to the crew. A leader makes sure that his crew is taken care of. A leader will make sure that everything on board the deck and the ship is well maintained, ready to go, and is putting in the same amount of work and making the decisions, because ultimately he's the one that's responsible, or she. Right. So in that case, it's like you need to have someone who is responsible for making decisions and is going to be accountable for those decisions and take responsibility when something goes wrong and say, hey, you know what? I messed up. OK. And this is the whole thing, is a leader listens to the people they're leading. A leader doesn't just demand things of people without reason. Okay, they're not just some sort of like tyrant that rules over people. Right? That's not what a leader is. We're calling this a leadership role because you're a leader. That's a good thing, right? It's high responsibility, high accountability, high stress, but ultimately you're the final decision maker. Final being the key word. The decision is ultimately up to everyone involved, the adults making the decision, but the leader is the one who actually settles on the decided factors, right? Decides on the actual end decision, right? And that's where it's critical to have a leader, because ultimately, if you don't have a leader, it's going to be everyone's got their hand on the wheel steering the boat one way or another. It's not going to work.
Women have the power to give birth, create life, to generate and guide the next generation. That is a far more useful purpose of like basically being like the Mary Curie.
He didn't like that guy did not like the word useful.
And like guiding the growth of a nation rather than, oh, I've got to figure out what we're doing for like checks and balances in our house.
Is that leading? What do women do in that sense? Is that leading? Because they're
creating.
But you're putting what men do in this category of leadership. Men lead. What women do, that's not leadership.
Listen, people have been throwing rhetorical versus literal all day today to an annoying sense. Literally, leadership just means to lead for like making a decision. Now, anyone that's here that's married, I'm not married, but anyone here that's married, no one's taking a decision like in a vacuum without their partner. That's the quickest way to divorce.
Yes, that's exactly what I said. It is not a dictatorship. It is not a tyrant rule. It is a leadership. And a good leader will lead by taking advice from his counsel. Holy crap, this is like brain dead shit. And this guy is getting all flustered and angry about it. He's about to disagree and argue.
They're all taking into consideration. So the word leadership, because of all like the toxic masculinity, red pill bullshit on YouTube, sounds bad to people's ears these days. But a man's job is to create order. A woman's job is to create the universe. Let him figure out the basic bullshit. Let her build the destiny.
You're still giving him the final say. Why?
No, who has the final say?
Leadership.
No one said.
Ultimately, I've heard it many times.
Oliver, let's just pass the mic to someone else.
No, no one said final say. Someone does have to have the final say on something, though, right? Ultimately, you do need someone who's going to make the final say.
My wife can consult me. My wife can talk with me about it, but ultimately, it's up to me. I heard it somewhere
So
over
some
there.
people, but those.
Hey guys, Shane here. I had a quick question because it's kind of interesting because I'm kind of held up on the word should. It's interesting to see a lot of traditional men actually up there and not the progressive men, because I mean, most people would typically think most progressive men would be up there. So for me, I'm looking at it as like that word should is a hang up for me, because I think that that also provides a space for men to not take accountability for their lacking or whatever they're not showing up in that relationship to support, etc. with their partner. I also, I've been with my wife, married 10 years, 20 years we've been together. So I have extensive experience of how women work. And there's this idea of
No. You have extensive experience of how one woman works, okay? Don't blanket statement and say women in general, okay? You have experience, a lot of experience with one woman, which is great. That's a good thing. I'm not dogging on you, but don't try and blanket statement and say you can extrapolate your experiences out from an individual to the entire crowd.
Of being so gendered, but when you've been together long enough, you realize the gender roles fall apart. If one person is making more money and the other person isn't, I don't think it's a question of should, it's just the opportunity there. And I think that women should have the opportunity if they wanted to step up. I think that's important. But I also think that there's a lack of accountability, especially on the traditional side. It's just interesting to see so many of you guys up there, because usually with all the other points, it seems like, I want to be gung-ho, I want to show up, but it's like, it's that should for me that I'm really hung up on, because I think that the opportunity for women to show up, also that lack of accountability, I'm stuck on that because.
What do you mean lack of accountability? Like for the men's side, if a man is failing in his leadership role, then a woman should be able to. It's not should step up, it should be able to. Like she should have the capabilities to step up, right? And it's so stupid because this feels like such a stupid argument, but it's just like you want a partner who will have your back when you need it. I don't like, why even get into a partnership if you could do everything alone? Like there's no issue with this. And like the leadership role too is not necessarily about finances or about anything specific, but like I just don't like if you're married to a husband and the husband becomes a paraplegic, he's not going to be able to lead the family. Like if you've been together for 30 years, if you've been married for 30 years, your kids are older and grown. Like, are you going to divorce the paraplegic husband after 30 years because he can't walk anymore? He can't use his arms? What is the standard here? Because it's like, I would have an expectation of my significant other stepping up. I would hope they have that expectation of me as well. Like, that seems pretty like, I don't know, common sense.
It doesn't make sense to me.
So like for me personally, right? Like I'll share my personal experience, right? There was a time where my wife was making more than me at that point in time, right? And I wanted her to show me a certain amount of respect. And she kept it a band with me. She went like, dude, I work longer hours than you and I make more money than you. She's not wrong. So what ended up happening is me as a man, I rose to the occasion. I was like, yo, I want her to do X, Y, and Z when I tell her to do it, how I tell her to do it, exactly when I want her to do it. She told me she's willing to sign up for that, but I need to do my part now and pull the weight that she wants me to pull. For me, if you want that kind of power, because not even power, if you want that level of responsibility, you need to be able to carry that burden, because she can't follow you if you don't even have a roadmap for yourself. What is she going to follow? What is she going to submit to? Poverty? Section 8 housing? Food stamps? Like, nah, bruh. Like, no. That isn't what a woman should submit to. You should be solid through and through. Yep. If you want to be treated like you solid, act like you solid. Walk the walk and talk the talk.
When I see men talking about, I'm going to come in and be this traditional man and take care of the finances, yet now there's this stipulation of like, well, actually, if I'm not doing my job, you got to show up. And I think for traditional women, I don't see trad wives actually. I see them going, hey, let's get another man.
Really?
That's typically what happens with traditional women that are looking at their men and going, hey, you're not providing for me. I mean, if that's the mindset that the two consenting adults agree to have, that, hey, I want a traditional marriage, I want to stay home, I want to raise the kids. If the man's not making the money, then, I mean, just from your perspective, it sounds like you're more of a progressive relationship by looking at it that way, because it's like you're actually providing an opportunity for women to work, make income, and support, which seems more of a progressive relationship than a traditional one.
Right.
Well, I don't think anyone is specifying traditional or progressive relationship. It's just if a man is failing in a leadership role, which a lot of relationships, typically it's the man leading the role, right? Because women seem to want that based off of their own. I mean, that's just based off of what they say. Like, this is not me making this shit up. This is literally what they say. You watch any like podcast with men and women on it and talking about dating and relationships, and that's what women say. They want to be led. They want a man who can lead. They don't want a dude who's going to be like walking behind them with like a rope around his neck. Okay. Like it's like most relationships are structured that way. Progressive or traditional relationships are structured that way, whether you want to admit it or not. You can say you're 50-50 on the decision making, but the truth is you're not. So it's like, this is more of like, this is just like a typical relationship. I feel like this is just a typical relationship. I don't think this is like progressive or traditional. I think this is just how we naturally almost want things to be. I feel like humans just naturally want this.
So I totally not about the accountability. Like Anthony said, I think when you're saying it creates a space for men to not take accountability, totally not talking about that, right? And I think there is also a view that trad wives, they don't do any hard work. They just
no, I'm not saying they didn't do any hard work, but there's an expectation that the financial side is taken care of, because that's the male's role to go out in the world. So it's confusing to me as a progressive listening to someone who's claiming to be traditional when it really sounds extremely progressive for you to be like, I mean, even the gentleman over here was like, hey, I have my wife and she works from home. I mean, that's not technically then traditional if she's working. I mean, if we're just going on the baseline of what a trad wife is, when we see trad wife.
Bro is thinking traditional means like 1950s when one income was enough to support a family. Like, dude, it's not traditional or progressive if both people are working, because now it's modern. This is a modern relationship. Okay, this isn't like he's thinking traditional means that she stays at home, has the 2.5 kids. He's out working at the factory, the steel factory, making $20,000 a year, and they just bought their house for $18,000. And like, dude, that's not traditional. That's like in the past. That's like you're just talking about like the 1950s. It's stupid. It's like I don't understand why people can't understand the differences here. Like, it seems very like odd that people are arguing about the same shit, talking about the same shit, and they're effectively on the same side arguing against each other.
Live content, we see baking, babies, we see
all that. Bro, that's all TikTok content for clicks and views. That's not real. Most of the people watching those videos are dudes who are like beating their meat, okay? Because they're like, oh, girl in a sundress, boo.
That stuff is just pornography.
Beyond.
What did I say? What did I say? I'm right. I'm always right. Asmongold is the only person who's more right than me, but I'm also more right than him. It's just like, yes, that is what it is. It's content made for dudes to goon to.
The financial, like,
hey,
I am.
Hello. They're all like acting surprised. They're like, what?
It's made for
Hey, Aldo's completely right on that one.
You guys are trying to create for yourselves.
Going to Aldo's point, and just for me to say this, me personally, I don't believe that your father failed at all. It just for like unfortunate circumstances that actually led to that happening. Number one, and number two, just like you said before, like all these women with these trad wife contents, yeah, it's like pretty much like pornography, not like in the sexual sense, but just like the point that they're trying to actually get. Yeah, 100%, absolutely. Yeah, guys, like, yes, I'll actually be one of the first to agree. Times have definitely changed. It's not like how it used to be. Like, due to like a lot of economical factors, it does take two incomes to actually go ahead.
Dude, it's so funny that like the conservatives seem to have a better grasp on this concept than the left does, or like the progressives do. It's so funny because it's like, yes, that's exactly what I was saying. It's like they're not talking about traditional or progressive relationships. They're talking about modern relationships, how a modern relationship needs to function now. Like I know people that are married and both parents work. Like, in order to survive, you kind of have to nowadays. You have to have two incomes. Okay, like it's just, this is like nonsense. Like it's not even an argument.
And keep a household going, raise the kids, etc. And one of the reasons why I'm here sitting down, like the reason why I'll probably actually just disagree, is because, yeah, I do believe that yes, men should lead, and it's just super crazy how we just continue to go back and forth with this kind of thing, because yes, men naturally lead, women naturally follow, and I don't really understand like why we're just saying like, oh yeah, like, well, women can do X, Y, and Z. Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, that's actually true, but the women that I've seen in these leadership roles, in these more dominant roles, are super unhappy and resentful. You look at some of the marriages too, where women are actually leading their household. They actually get divorced most of the freaking time. You know what I mean? So it's just super crazy. They actually resent their husbands for actually not being the breadwinners. They are not built to be in the trenches for making the money, and on top of that, maintaining the household.
I'm actually familiar with the research in regards.
That's so funny. That's interesting. Similar to what I was saying, and I feel like, yeah, like people want to try and reject this at all costs. I feel like people see it as derogatory towards women, and like they'll try and rationalize how it's derogatory to say that, oh, it's a patriarchy structure and it's controlling women, and it's like you find that most women are happier taking care of a family at home than they are working a corporate job. Like I think the caregiver aspect is highly overlooked when we're talking about women for whatever reason, because I guess being a caretaker is seen as a bad thing nowadays, which is a very modern way of looking at a relationship. But it's not just the support that she provides her children, but it's the support she provides her husband, so that when he comes home from work, the idea is that the house is taken care of and there's no need for them to, divvy up tasks and take care of things separately. Everything's already done. They can spend quality time together as a family. That's how the old structure worked. And unfortunately now with the need of having to have two streams of income, makes it much more difficult to have that family time, which makes it far more difficult to have and build strong relationships within your family, which sucks. But I mean, that's the way the world works now. And so you're trying to find a way out of that. It's like, you have to lower your cost of living. And that's what people are doing. That's why you see so many people leaving states like California and New York, is because it's too expensive to have a family there, and people want family. So you have to move somewhere that's cheaper. And thankfully you can work remote. So if you're working remote, you might be able to actually get away with one person working and spending time with the family and building those connections like you could in the past, just in a different way. It just sucks that the idea that leadership should fall to women as equally as it does for men, it seems to be a very modern way of thinking, right? Like, because women can do a certain task, that they should be expected to do that task at the same rate that men do, right? Like, everyone's like, oh, we need 50% women CEOs and 50% men. It's like, well, what if women don't want that? Like, oh, we need 50% women in STEM. Well, what if women don't want that? Why do so many women go into nursing versus computer science? Like, because men are keeping the women out? I got my degree in computer science. I have my bachelor's degree in computer science. I would have loved more women to be in my classes. There was like 3 in every computer science class I had. There was like 3. It's like 3 girls in every class. It's like, come on. Like, like, if you think about it, it's like, you ask any of the dudes in computer science, do you want more girls in your class? All of them would have said yes. Okay. Like, no guy is gatekeeping women from computer science. So it's just, they're creating problems that don't exist. The people who say that and try and argue that, like, oh, there's the patriarchy keeping women out of the STEM fields. It's bullshit. It's not true. Ask any dude who was in any of those fields. They're like, ah, man, I should have been a business major. I should have gone into marketing. Oh shit, man, I should have gone into nursing. It's just so funny.
To women making more than men and then having a higher divorce rate. The reason for that was because, and you may have actually noted or hinted to it earlier, was because despite making more of the money, they were also had the burden of doing all the household chores and all of the sort of domestic labor. So that was more of a fault of the men not stepping up and fulfilling what many of you would consider the feminine role in the household and not doing some of the domestic labor. So yeah, that's all I wanted to respond to, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be the case that just because a woman is able to be successful in her role, be it like career-wise or economic-wise, that's necessarily going to break down the foundation of your relationship. I think if anything, you should aspire to want a woman who is driven, and maybe it could be driven in the sense of raising your household, but I think it's also perfectly normal and perfectly fine to want a woman who's extraordinarily driven and smart and intelligent and want to fulfill something outside of raising a family.
Can I?
Yeah, but to be fair, she's going to want the same thing, right? If she's like, and men are like this as well. If you're extremely driven and you want something greater in life, like, you're going to be looking for a partner who has similar interests like you, right? And so if you're with a dude who is failing in his leadership role, you're going to be looking for another dude. That's just kind of how it goes.
She has that purpose, then 100%.
We're splitting hairs a lot here and using some fuzzy anecdotes that sound like science. And I think what gives me trouble with this statement, and I think maybe is what I'm hearing from a lot of my friends here, is it implies a fundamentally different set of skills and roles and responsibilities by gender, and that's and I think the point I want to make is it's totally cool for you to choose that worldview for your family, but there is no scientific basis that there is a predisposition among men to be better leaders than women or anything like that.
Okay. Is there a predisposition for women to give birth, or can men do that too? Is there a predisposition for men to breastfeed their newborn babies? Can men breastfeed? Or can women do that? Is there a scientiological predisposition for women to be more emotional? Any of that? I mean, like, which is it? Like, what are we talking about here? Right? Like, is it wrong to say that women are more emotional? Is that wrong? Am I allowed to say that? Am I going to get canceled for that? Or is it true? Or is it true and I'm going to get canceled? Probably that one. It's so funny. It's like, you can't address the elephant in the room, that is, men and women are different, and we have evolved to be different. But we have also evolved to be complementary to each other. Like, there is a reason why men's physical structure is more intense and more powerful than women's is. Like, our physical bodies are different. But why can't we say, because our physical bodies are different, the way we act is different, the way we think is different, that we feel differently? Why is it all of a sudden to say that we have different roles to play? Why is it like that's impossible to say? Why is that somehow like offensive to hear? is that we have different roles to play in society. Like that's the hang up, right? Like all of a sudden it's like, well, I mean, some of these guys in the blue shirts might not even admit that men and women are different at all. Oh no, women can be just as strong and powerful as men. They're just as physically fit and strong as men. Okay. Like you can't argue with that, right? You can't argue with someone who denies reality.
That's so I think the issue is it's a difference between what's right for you because you chose it and what's right for everybody because you think that's how everybody is.
So do you believe that men and women have natural biology, psychology, societally, even like natural dispositions where some may have strengths and weaknesses, and whereas the other one might have strengths and weaknesses that sort of complement each other?
So no, yes and no. Yes, because everybody is a gender, but it's way more
nuanced.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Nuanced
than that.
Yeah. This guy's a jerk off. Don't listen to this guy. Okay, he's gonna spew some bullshit right here.
It's not like all women are this way, all men are this way. Some women are better at leading. Some women are better at cooking. Some women would be better presidents than other women. Same.
Again, the failure to actually generalize because they're incapable of talking about the actual conversation at hand. They want to bring up all these individual cases of, oh, well, I have a friend Sally who's a bodybuilder, or oh, I have a friend Jenny who's in the military. It's like, this is great. You're not helping the conversation. You're not driving the conversation forward. You're derailing the conversation. It's insane. It's insane that the left has such a hard time being honest with stuff like this, of just admitting that men and women are different, that we think differently, we are built physically differently, we deal with emotions differently, we have different emotions. Like, I don't understand why it's so hard for people to understand that if all of these other things are different for men and women across the board, if you take the average man and the average woman and you look across the board and you say, who's going to be stronger? Who can deadlift more, right? Who can bench press more? Oh my gosh, who's a faster runner? Oh my gosh, which one's going to be more nurturing? Which one can breastfeed? I'm sorry, I didn't realize we can't like talk about reality anymore.
Thing is true for men, and that's not about gender. It's about difference.
This one's actually tough.
It's not about gender. It's about difference. So there's no. I'm sorry. So the two genders are not different. It's not about gender. It's about difference. What the fuck does that even mean? That doesn't. You're not saying anything. It's not about gender. It's about difference. What?
And you brought up the tough part about this question from where I sit. The tough part is I'm also Catholic. The divorce thing is the issue. I believe that if the man is not fulfilling his role, then the woman should exit in a non-marriage. If this is a dating situation, because it described, the prompt said romantic situation. If this is a dating situation, the woman should absolutely exit, step out, and search.
I mean, if he refuses to fulfill his end of the bargain, if he refuses to hold up his end of the agreement in a relationship or in a marriage, okay, yes. I mean, like, this is like, again, his choice, right? If he's just a lazy slob who doesn't want to work hard, I mean, yeah, that's fair.
For another man, if this is a marriage, that's where that's tricky. I still haven't formulated. I think it's very case dependent.
You know, when I first went up and had this conversation of like the men leading in a romantic relationship, I think a common misconception is that, you know, there's control involved, there's like leadership involved. You know, we can throw around all these terms, and I think that sometimes we tend to negate the female role in the relationship as something lesser or something that's supposed to be like, you're less than because like you know, for all these different reasons.
Money.
And I'm just like,
it's mainly about money. This is where liberals get all butthurt about. Okay, it's because they want women to earn the same as men do, right? And that's like, this is what the left cares about, is money. They just care about money. That's what society just cares about in general right now, is just money. Okay, like the right cares a lot more about family values, okay, like, and community. The left just cares about money. Where is the money? Where's my money? I want my money. You know, how much are you making? We need more women making more money. We need more women CEOs. It's all about the money. It's like more money, more problems.
as a Christian, I'm coming at it with this background, but I could probably argue even without it. But there's one example in the Bible of, if you go and read Proverbs 31, it talks about what a godly woman looks like, and she is industrious. Like she goes out and she buys a vineyard, she takes care of the home. She does all of these things, but all the things that she does are for the good of the family. And so that's why I think a woman sometimes, like stepping up per se, I don't think looks like always means that she's in a leadership role, but rather she's going out and making, like if she needs to make extra income because that's what's gonna make the family succeed. I personally have no problem with that. I mean, I think that's a very, very biblical principle. I think I might disagree with you a little bit, but like if I worked in like construction or something and I had like my arm blown off and I really can't work anymore, I think it'd be virtuous for my wife then to step up, so to speak, and then maybe she does work, and then maybe there's some different changes there. But the whole premise behind what I say is like when a man leads, I'm not saying that a woman is less than, like I think she has the ability and capability to do all of these like amazing things. So I don't think it's just this whole like dominance thing that we kind of tend to make it, if that kind of makes sense.
I was originally over there because of the implication that men are the natural leaders in the family unit. I grew up Christian. I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic school for up until about middle school, and then from there, my mom converted to Christianity, and we started going to evangelical Christian church. So I've been around that form for a long time, and I really have a struggle with the idea that the man is the leader, because for a large portion of my life, as a divorced child of divorce, my dad wasn't there. My mom took that role. My dad, like I did visit him, I did see him on the weekends, but he was given the time that he was given, and I don't think he used the time given properly. And I've seen the women in my life take on more of that role of the leader of the household. Primarily my mom, she worked, she went to school, she took me to school.
It's a strong woman, just saying.
That part.
She is the reason why I am the person I am today.
I have one quick follow-up. Do you wish your dad had stepped into more of a leadership role than he did?
Now I don't think so, because I
don't know. That's a hard question to ask. It's a harder question to answer. I mean, like, of course you would say yes. Like, why would you not want your other parent there to step up, right? Like the implication here is that the parent is going to be doing the right thing for the child by stepping up into a role that's more suited for him, and to be there and to be present rather than to be absent. So like that should be an easy yes, but it's also like, it doesn't matter because it didn't happen and there's no way it could happen.
The reason why I say that is because the tools that he was given to be a father at the time were not the right ones. He wasn't a nice man. So I think after he had my brothers, he had a lot more time with my stepmom. He had a lot more time to think about what made a good man and like what made a good father. So I don't think I would trade kind of my experience, even though I did go through some shit,
Thank you. Our final middle ground statement from part one. The question was, is Elon Musk a good masculine role model? And the middle ground statement was...
Elon Musk is not a good masculine role model.
Yeah, I love that it was really that easy.
Sounds
Elon
good.
Musk is not a good role model.
All right, let's fight about something else.
Come on, please. Oh my God, it's pretty crowded over here. Someone want to call him a loser? I got no.
Okay, so Elon Musk has done a number of things, positive things. A lot of people wouldn't necessarily say that now, but he's landed the rocket. He's made an amazing car that's done amazing things. Now he's working with the president. A lot of people say that's like mixing oil with water. But then again, you have to give these people a chance. We don't know where Doge is going.
Just answer the question. Just answer the statement. Refer to the statement, dude. Elon Musk is not a good masculine role model. No, he is not. Okay? No, he is not. Also, this has been an hour. This video is now at 2 hours, so I've done just as much talking as they have. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to answer this one with just a simple thought. Elon Musk is not a good masculine role model. He's not a good father figure. He's been around. He's like the town whore. He's a town bicycle. It's cool what he's doing with all the science projects and stuff. However, that doesn't negate from the bad things he's done in terms of being a man and how he should compose himself. I think he's really funny. I think he's really smart. I think he's a good businessman. I think he works hard. But I don't think he's a good masculine role model. I mean, the idea here is he a good role model for men? Is he, right? Is he someone you would want to look at in terms of his character and not his science projects, not his businesses, not his like tweets he makes, none of that. Like, is he a good man? Does he uphold the virtues of a good man? And my answer is no, I don't think he does. I'm sure there's going to be some back and forth about him being a racist or a Nazi or some shit here that I don't really feel like watching because I've heard it all from the liberals. And he's not a Nazi. He's not a racist. There's plenty of things to criticize him on, but they have to be valid criticisms in order for me to listen to you. I'm not going to just listen to bullshit. So anyways, this has been a really long video. I suppose I should probably preface this. I guess maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you stuck around to the very end, you get $1 billion if you hit that like button and that subscribe button. But yeah, this was a doozy. Jubilee did a number on me for this one, especially because I'm sick and I'm really tired. I need to go take my medicine and do some dishes because I am a man who has responsibilities in my house. I have to take care of stuff. I have to do shit. I don't let shit fall to the wayside just because I'm sick, even though the house is a mess right now because I've been sick. And so I haven't cleaned in the last couple days.